Hey everybody, it's the Trout and welcome to another episode of the Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today's guest is a multi-talented actor, singer, and songwriter. And she took an iconic metal song by Metallica called Sandman, that's very famous, and changed it to her own style. Her name is Anna Mintzer. And Anna sat down and talked to me about how she took this song, this very iconic song, changed it to her own style, and made it sound really cool. But she had some help. She had some great people like Janet Robbins, who is a Grammy Award-winning guitarist and producer, helped her design and put this all together, plus some other great artists. Even the people working on the post, like mastering and engineering, were all very good at what they did. And it was fun to talk about Anna's career from, film and TV and singing and doing all that stuff, and talking about writing this song and working on it for a long time. So if you like Metallica and you want to hear a different version of a song that everybody knows, Sandman, stick around and listen and watch this episode with the great artist, Anna Mintzer, and she talks about that and her life and the career as a singer, songwriter, and artist. That's next on The Trout Show. You started out, did you grow up in California? Is that where you're born?
Yes.
Okay. And what
Los
part
Angeles.
are you in, or where were you born? What area?
LA, born
Okay.
and raised in LA.
Okay, one of those people.
Yeah, the West Side.
Did you want to always be an actress or a singer, or both?
Both.
Okay.
I definitely, I on both. Wanted to be an actress my whole life, but I also come from a very musical background and have been singing and playing music my whole life as well. I grew up very. My parents really support the arts and support theater, and they was very lucky to have them really support that passion for me, and also to grow up around a lot of that culturally. We would go to New York all the time, see Broadway shows and movies, and listen to great music. I mean, the memories of listening to the Beatles in the car with my dad, and being exposed to all of that. And I started playing piano from a young age, and voice lessons and all of that for a long time. So I ended up, like, in my education and school, like I got a degree in acting, in musical theater, actually. So the combination of the music and the and the acting.
Well, may I ask what school you went to?
Yeah, of course, Syracuse. Went to
Okay.
Syracuse and got my BFA there, and and
when you were growing up, all right, so as you're getting this degree, and as I always ask people in college, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you envision yourself standing on the Broadway stage belting out some great tune to some Les Miserables or something like that?
Absolutely.
Or Hamilton going, I can see myself, I'm that one right there. Is that kind of what you envisioned?
Yeah. And it started, and I don't know if this was also growing up in LA, but I have a lot of dreams and desires around film acting and
Sure.
Having a series, all of that kind of stuff. And I actually felt less, as much as I loved singing, I felt less comfortable in the musical theater genre, which is part of why I chose to get my degree in musical theater, so that I could cultivate it and feel like this is something I also want to do. Let me master this as well, and like have it be more in my toolbox comfort zone. And since then, I've done a lot of work in theater, just the way that things have unfolded. I've happened to do a lot of musical theater, a lot of stage performing, and it's been so great getting to blend my musical background now into writing my own music and working on producing my own music with Janet. It's been very freeing, and like a new sense of like creative autonomy, I think, especially being in an industry where I'm auditioning for things,
Yeah.
and
So you're
other
always waiting
people
for your
are,
next job.
yeah. So it's like,
Where's my
oh, I
next
can,
job? What am I? Okay, this gig's over. Where are we going like that?
yeah, yeah.
I
So,
just, acting's like music. You're only, you got to wait for your next. We got booked up for 3 months. Okay, what are we doing after that?
hmm
But your
totally.
music, though, as you well know, singing in that type of genre is completely different than singing Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
And when I watch my wife, and I've been doing this for years, American Idol, and
hmm
people said, "Oh, I was on Broadway." We know exactly how they're going to start singing
Mm,
because you're so used to projecting and trying to, oh, that stuff. That's
yeah.
part of the gig, and it's hard for people, I think, a lot of times to come away from that because
Mm.
but you've had the exposure to do both, and apparently, from what I hear, you've done a good job on both sides.
Oh, thank you.
But if you had your druthers, if you could wave a wand and go, I could do this, are you into film, or would you rather, what would be your best thing right now if you said to yourself, I could do this for the rest of my life and they pay me money to do it? What would you do?
Oh, all of it. That's the true answer. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Well, there's nothing
being,
stopping you from doing all of it.
yeah, being on set, shooting a, a, a film or a series that is exciting and lights me up and is with amazing collaborators surrounding me. And I also see that happening like in beautiful landscapes and environments, and travel being
Hmm.
a part of that. But then, having a hiatus from the show or wrapping the movie and going and doing
You're
a show
done.
on
Yeah.
Broadway and getting to perform on stage, and then getting to also share my original music with people too. And I really do, something that I have come to own more in my journey and as I've gotten older is that it gets to be all of it. It gets to be, I get to sort of claim all of those things, and
Well,
they're also connected. And
yeah, if you can be good in all of them, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because people are usually pigeonhole people into what they are.
right.
And if you can, I mean, there's some advantages to all those things that you want to do. There's also some
Mhm.
huge disadvantages to it. So, what's
Yeah.
some of the stuff you've done on film?
I've well, I've done I did a musical film. Funny enough, um, I've had a couple, smaller roles on some network shows, and
Right.
I did a recurring part on a series that was on Amazon a few years ago. And as I said, like what's been more percolating just as it has unfolded has been stage things.
Yeah.
I toured for a year with the first national Broadway tour of The Sound of Music. I have done a regional musicals and world premieres and readings of new works. And I think to your point earlier, part of what created an opening for my music was some of the lulls, or there's like an ebb and flow, especially if
Yeah.
you're a multi hyphenate or you're in multiple different ways of a business or expressing. So
Yep.
as things were quieter or more slowed down because of pandemic,
Oh, yeah.
other things like that, which is when I started writing again, then my energy sort of moved more into the music creating part, and just, I don't know, riding that wave a bit of like, where is the space with each of these things, and then where do I get
Hmm.
to create the space so that I'm still creating. And
It was mixed that in the UK. You sent it to an engineer, or I'm a person that looks at all the details.
yeah, oh, I love that. I love the details. I love talking about and bragging on the amazing people that work on my tracks. Yes, so Matthew Hyde mixed and mastered all the songs that I've put out so far, and I got connected with him through Janet Robin.
What a surpriser.
He's worked on a bunch of String Revolution stuff, which is her band, of course. And when we were working on my first single, Haunted, the time came for the mixing and the mastering, and Janet's like, I have someone who's really good, and he's busy. He's really busy. He works nonstop, but let's see if he would be willing to work on your song. And then that started that relationship. And so it's a lot of, back and forth over email and maybe a Zoom call here and there to talk about as we go through the process of it, the mixing process. But yeah, he's fantastic. And he actually, funny enough, has a background in working on metal, like working with rock and metal tracks.
So he kind of understands that. Or he can give you do your compression or whatever you want to do to make it sound metal, but not lose you in the mix, so to speak.
Right.
Do you get much involved in that? Do you give your opinion on it? Do you kind of say what you hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm very involved.
And I understand that. Some people are. Some of them go, I want to go in the studio and record. I don't want to know all that stuff. They might probably want to come back in when they start mixing it. Obviously, everybody has their own hand in that.
Sure.
But, so you're one of those people that says, I want to be involved. It's my stuff. And you probably, like we all do, if you're a writer, you hear it up here and then try to convey it to the people in the room.
Yeah. I co-produce all of my stuff. Janet and I produce it together. She engineers it in the studio, but I'm pretty much there with her, unless there's like, a cleanup thing that she has to do that I don't need to be there for. Like I'm there every session. And she's I love collaborating with her. She really, there's just this mutual respect and like space for me and safety, for me to be able to share my thoughts and opinions. And when I was doing the first track we were doing, producer, writer, artist of my own original stuff, I really appreciated how much space she gave me to be like, yeah, you are a producer on this too, and this is your song, and I'm going to support it, and I'm going to give my opinion, and we're going to work together. So anyway, we're that way with Matt as well in the post process too, which is great. I really appreciate
the one thing that threads between everything is you're creative. You may be reading notes from a page when you have to do Broadway, but you're still creating. You're still putting yourself in it. And you have to do certain things that the director tells you to do, but you're still creating. And at the end of the day, writing a song and being done, it still amazes me how cool it is when you get finished. When you release Inner Sandman, which you just did, how do you go out and support something like that? I mean, you're not in a band, so to speak. You're not going to go out and get a gig and go, hey, I'm going to come in with my band doing Inner Sandman. What do you hope happens to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I hope that really I feel like this is a thing with all artists, I would imagine to an extent, but I just want people to hear it and enjoy it. And so much of this track is in the production. Like there's a lot of the magic and the vibe and the like feeling that I want to evoke from it that is within the production of this recording. And I've, been thinking about how I would do it live because I don't want to lose any of that. And I know there's also there's newness and other things that can come from performing it live, which is on the horizon eventually for sure. I'm also in pre-production right now for the music video for it. Part
I was
of
going to ask you if you're going to make a video for it.
yeah, I've made a video for all of the songs I've released so far to go with it. That's part of, for me, the all-encompassing expression of these pieces. And I see them, I hear them, I feel them in a way of like, what is the tone, what is the feeling I want to evoke, and then I also the visual aspect of it, adding to the full picture of it. So I'm in process of that right now, and I've produced and been very involved in creative directing, my last couple videos, and I'm thinking about just taking the reins and directing.
Well, and the other part about it is too, that people always that are not in the business, so to speak, that's what it is. You're in a business, and people love you, but if you're not making money for somebody, you're not going to be in it long. So it takes a lot of effort to keep going, to provide it. I mean, I would think one of the great things for you guys, especially you, is if that guy that sings that song in our Sandman would actually say something to you about it, but that he liked it. And I mean, maybe on Instagram or YouTube, be a little Hatfield thing. Pretty cool. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Oh, I would love for them to hear it. That is one of the goals, or the big desires around it is for them to hear it, because I really, and I know Janet talked about this when she came on and was speaking with you about her cover that just won a Grammy.
Oh yeah.
Honoring the original song, like keeping the soul of the song, but then bringing our unique voice to it, our take, our spin, but without losing the core of the song, which is, it's a freaking amazing song. The song itself is so good, and the production of it is so cool. And it's just about a unique channel of it, which is coming from me versus coming from them that all wrote it and created it originally. So I would love for them to hear it. And as I said before, to be honest, the business side of the music industry and all of that is, Janet has been super encouraging and supportive of like, yeah, it is a business, and this is part of how the music gets heard. And when I started my whole songwriting, music producing venture, like it was totally for me. It was totally for my own creativity, fulfillment, and to have an outlet of something that felt like, it started off with Janet being like, when are you going to start writing songs? And me being like, I'm not good enough with I'm not good enough on guitar yet. I don't, whatever stories that were there with that. And she's like, yes, you are. Just start playing every day. And for months, for like 5 minutes a day, I picked up my guitar and I just played anything with, just jammed with myself, and which I hadn't really done before, and it was something that like scared me and felt like, oh, this is out of reach. And then even just doing that, like Haunted came from that, came from one of those days where I was like, oh, I like this, I'm just going to record it so that I don't forget it.
Well, and think about that song, and when I watch it, that is a very personal song. Not so much, I mean, from the song itself, but when I start watching it and I see you sitting there playing guitar, and that's it at the beginning, and there's not a lot added to it, that's a pretty bare bones thing.
There's something so freeing in creating and allowing to come through what is true to you.
Yep.
And letting it be okay, letting it be more than okay, and to know that it's not going to be for everyone, but if it is true to me, and then trusting that the people who it will move or impact, or that will resonate with,
Yep.
that they will hear it, that it's for them too, and it's okay that it's not for everyone. And yeah, like I a lot of times have no idea what what is coming out, like what I'm playing. I'm like, I don't know, actually. And the freedom in that of, you know, coming from a background where I did put a lot of pressure on myself to around like theory and
Oh, yeah.
technique and stuff, and then being like, I don't know what chord I'm playing right now, I just made it up. And
Yep.
like it's very freeing.
As a piano player, see, that's the other thing you have going for you. It's so linear, you know, and you can go all this stuff like flat seventh and all that stuff. Guitar players don't know anything about that. No, it's like, we're playing in a flat. What the heck is that? You know, if it's not in a major key, forget it, you know. So I think the ability to do that helps you a lot, because now you've got it's almost like your brain is fighting with itself. Okay, I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
But I really want to do this. And what I think is really interesting to me is here you met Janet Robbins when you were a teenager. And here you are years later, which then helps you because, as you know, in anything, it's all who you know that can make you get to the next level. Because when you're dealing with somebody like her and she says, oh, I'm going to let somebody hear it, you don't have to do that. She already knows the contacts. You know, that's got to make your life a whole lot easier.
She is absolutely incredible. And I will say too, you know, with contacts, and I mean, everyone who has, all of the artists that have worked on my songs and with Enter Sandman are all artists that I'm so grateful to know and honored to work with. And they all come through having worked with Janet before.
Yeah.
And she sent them my stuff, and they all, you know, I'm so grateful, said yes and wanted to work on it. But, you know, Matt, our mix master, was working with her band. Our bass player on all of the tracks, including
That's a woman, isn't it? Is it a woman?
Yes. Jennifer Jo Oberly, and she's so cool. Like, she is so badass and so talented, and just it's so exciting every time we get her bass track for each of the songs, because she really just, she's so good.
Is she a studio? Is she a studio, or does she play at the band, or what does she do?
She has played with tons of bands. She just was touring with Sarah McLachlan. She's played with Air Supply and like various, all over, all the time.
She's a hard hand. She's a hard hand.
Yeah.
Hard gun. Excuse me. She's a hard gun.
There you go. And she sings, and like, so cool. And then the drummer on the Enter Sandman track is Denny Fongheiser, who he plays with Tracy Chapman. He just played on the Grammys with her. Fast Car. He played with Heart. He's like also he's kind of good deal. He's amazing. It's so cool that he played on this song. And it's a funny story with him, actually, because I got first connected with him through Janet a couple years ago, because he was producing and music directing a rock opera theater concert piece here in LA. And we had just finished production on Haunted, and she sent that over to him, and he's like, yeah, come in for an audition. And I went and auditioned and met him, and I didn't end up getting the role. I didn't book that show.
Right.
But cut to, you know, we stayed in touch, and then he's been so supportive, and with my other singles and things that I've released. And cut to a couple years later, we're doing Enter Sandman, and I'm like, we need a really badass drummer on this. And I think this is the one where we call Denny finally, because on Haunted and my Eulogy, Jana and I did the percussion for that ourselves and didn't have a live drummer. And for this one, it was like, we gotta have like an incredible live drummer. And and it was so fun. Like it just such a small world and cool how things come around in that way. And I loved working with him. Like he brought in some really cool things. And we told him like, go for it. You know,
Yep.
we want weird, we want like dark and twisty and all the weird percussive sounds and also not without losing that like driving bass and the like the depth that the original track has is I really love. So, and yeah, he killed it. But all of those people like have collaborated and worked with Janet before. And, so
But
anyway,
let me ask
I
you
feel very
this.
lucky. Yeah.
When I interview a very famous or well-known artist, and I asked them, when was the moment you realized that it was weird? And in other words, I interviewed a drummer that used to play with Joe Bonamassa, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and people of that ilk. And I said, when did you realize, like, I'm up here? And he said, when I was sitting there playing, Kenny Wayne was playing Blue on Black, which is his famous song, and I'm playing drums on it. I'm going like, I'm playing drums, you know. My point about it for you is this. You're sitting in the room with some of the great musicians. Now, they may not be on the tip of everybody's tongue. Was there a moment when you go like, man, I don't know if I'm worthy of this? I mean, did you I mean, and I don't mean that derogatorily, but I mean, there has to be some doubt that went through your mind. Like, I know I'm good, but am I that good?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the moment that has happened is it comes in when the yes comes. So like we ask them if they want to play and they say yes. And then I'm like, there's like that moment of, are they sure? Will they
really be there? Will they be
yeah. But the thing is that each of these people are such good people, are so kind and generous and warm that room for doubt it's a very small little window that is coming from my own, my own mind. And because
it's like getting a gift.
Yes.
You ask them to come and they say, yeah, we'll be there. And you're like, no, come on. Really?
Yeah.
And of course now you've played with them and all that stuff, but I mean, there's a thing that happens to even famous musicians. There's always this imposter syndrome that a lot of them still have, even when they become really well known.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the ones I've talked to, and you can tell in their voice, I shouldn't be up here. It's like, because there's always, there's maybe some people. I mean, I could probably jam with Janet, and she could do some stuff I can't do, but then she may not be able to do some of the stuff I can do. So, it's not, but I don't think it is a competition.
Yeah.
It's not a competition. You get all these great minds in a room and you hope that they all come together, whether it's doing a parts or all come together to make it work. Because that's the other side of it. Sometimes, and it's a lot of times in sports it happens, where they hire I'm going to hire the best player from everybody, and then they come together and they can't work together because there's no gelling there.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, where you've already had the advantage of working with these people, and here's the other thing that's great about you now, is you've worked them. You set up your own team. I mean, seriously, because Janet greased the skids for you, obviously. But now you can go, hey, would you mind? You can pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah. Yeah, which is also really one of the amazing gifts and generosities of working with Janet is like I said, the space that she gives, and she likes for her, she is a connector, and it's not about her at the end of it. It's like, you're making your own relationships, Anna. Like, I'm going to connect you because, and it's always a choice if they're available to collaborate and wanting to work with me. But no, it's being invited into this like creative I don't want to call it a circle in a way that's like exclusion
Well, there's an
exclusive
energy
or
there.
anything,
There's
but
an energy.
yeah, in the energy of it,
Yeah.
these collaborative relationships, and I think also with the imposter thing, there was a lot of resourcing and that I'm still doing, but that I did before the first time I went into the studio with her, as I was writing the songs for the first time, like even with that exercise of, I'm just going to show up with myself with no pressure or perfectionism, like 5 minutes a day for like 2 months before Haunted came through, you know? And I also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that with the amazing group of musicians that played on Enter Sandman, Janet also plays electric guitar on
I
that.
saw it. And mandolin.
And mandolin. Yeah, we wrote a mandolin part that she plays, which is cool.
What's your next step? When are you going to start? I want to wrap this up pretty soon, but I mean, when you start doing the video? When are you going to start shooting that?
Hopefully soon. I mean, it's still early stages of planning and getting it together. With my last video for my eulogy, that was my director and I would have a call once a week for like months. Because there is a lot to that one. It was a lot. It was a step up in terms of concept and logistics from the video for Haunted, which was our starting point. My amazing director, Chase Harward, and I produce and direct that together, or he directed those, but we produced them together. And so with Enter Sandman, there's this unique thing of it being, it's my first cover. I want to really honor the piece. So I've been taking my time, to be honest, with getting the video together, but it is happening and will be out sometime this year. Is the plan. And I'm also working on more of my own music. Probably another cover as well is the goal. And I'm, again, just creating a little bit of space for the clarity of what that will be to come through. But yeah, Janet and I, we've been doing a song at a time so far, just with schedules and each of our own schedules. But more music, the video. Have
you got any acting jobs coming up or any Broadway stuff like that?
I'm auditioning. Nothing coming up that I know of so far, but auditions have been picking up a bit. And
people still do summer stock. Do they still do things like that? Okay.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I would have never thought that I would cover this song, that we would be talking about my take on this Metallica song. But I'm super proud of it, and somehow it works, and it felt so natural and right, and like part of it just fit right into, I mean, it feels like it my voice, and so I'm grateful for this time and to get to share about it, and just, you know, one last thing that I just thinking about, like, to your point about being in the studio and like bringing in the physical state when we're practicing at home and into the studio. And I don't know, part of the more that I do this, the more that I'm in the studio, the more that I'm working with my body and emotions and all of that outside of it, the more availability to that flow space and to like the magic, and to like receiving what wants to come through in the song comes through. And like even in the beginning of our version of Enter Sandman, there's those vocals that come in, and that was not planned. That was in the studio. I'm like, I want to layer some harmonies, and and it just, you know, the joy of things revealing themselves in the full tapestry of like a song, and especially when you can compare it to something else that is so cool. And I love listening and hearing and remembering, and I think you can feel those moments of like, oh, where did this come from, or that's unexpected. And and I love to have an element of unexpected and maybe some shock and things like that in my music, and this thing of like keeping people on their toes and it being an interactive and immersive listening experience. And so anyway, I'm grateful to get to share it, to share it with you and with the world, hopefully with Metallica. Hopefully they'll
Sandman he comes. Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Exit light into night. Take my hand off to never, never land. Shut the light, heavy thoughts tonight, and they are of snow white. Dreams of war, dreams of lies, dreams of dragons, fire, and of things that'll bite, yeah. Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Exit light. Neverland. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, and if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Never, never let off to never, never let